Welcome back, Phasmophobia fam. Awesome video today. We're going to rank every ghost in Phasmophobia, including the 3 new ghosts that were just released a week or so ago. And this is going to be fun and exciting. And I have no plan for this. No plan for how I'm going to rank these. We're just going to go. We're going to think out loud. And I'm going to talk to the Twitch chat here, and I'm going to let them vote on it. And I'm going to give you my opinion on the tiers of ghosts and why that is. And also, if you're a new player, I've built this entire YouTube channel just for you. I have beginner's guides for everything you need to know about Phasmophobia, and it breaks it down into the most simple way of learning possible. Also, Discord and Twitch, join up with the community. Links are made in the description of this video. We have level 1 players, level 6,000 players like myself. It's a great place to either learn how to play or to make friends to play with. And we're super friendly and welcoming. We really want to meet you. That'd be amazing. Now, let's get this video started. So, like I was saying, I have no plan here, except for the last 3 ghosts we're going to do are going to be the new ones, because I'm going to try to fit them in with the context of what was already in the game, because there's some really cool ghosts. And we're just going to go in order here. We're going to start with the Obake, and what makes a dangerous ghost. That's what we're ranking here, the danger of the ghost, not necessarily my favorites or cool factor, but how dangerous they are. So a dangerous ghost is going to be an early hunting ghost, a faster than normal ghost, or a ghost that has hidden abilities that can just take chunks of your sanity away and hunt early. So we'll consider that. And what makes a not dangerous ghost? Well, they're all dangerous. They can all kill you. But things that are going to make like a weaker ghost are going to be hidden abilities that don't really take your sanity away or put you in any more danger, but make the ghost easily identifiable. And right off the bat, the Obake is going to have to be a weak ghost by that criteria, because there's nothing special about it on the offense. It's average speed, it's an average hunter, and its special hidden ability that everyone knows about is its special fingerprints that it does, and its ability to remove fingerprints faster than other ghosts, and its ability to not always leave fingerprints. Those things are exclusive to the Obake. They don't put you as a player in any more danger, but they make it very easily identifiable. So where would we put the Obake? I would have to say C or D. I'm going to start with it in a C here, and as we get more context with more ghosts, that's just off the top of my head, we may move this down to a D. So we'll see. We'll see. Now an Oni, we're going to go to Oni next. What does the Oni do? So the Oni hunts, normally it has a normal speed. It's a super active ghost. It gives you a ton of ghost events. You're never going to see the Misting Hiss ghost event with an Oni. So, you know, if you see that, you can rule out Oni, which would be the Oni's weakness. But the strength is the amount of ghost events you get. And when you get these ghost events that are close up to you, they take 10% of sanity at a time. So the Oni can kind of almost make itself an early hunter and dangerous in that way. So thinking about it that way, that it's not an actual early hunter on paper, but you can get 3 or 4 ghost events from an Oni in a short period of time and then all of a sudden get hunted. I think we're gonna have to put this probably B here. And these S here and A here are really the dangerous ghosts in the game. D are the ones that are like completely pretty much useless, in my opinion. So S and A is going to be quite a battle up here for ranking, and Oni isn't going to be in there because it's not overly fast and it's not like an early hunter. There's a chance you can get an Oni that just isn't giving you a ton of ghost events, for sure. So I'm going to put it on B. Now, Onryo. Onryo is an interesting ghost. This is the ghost of the candle. First thing you got to know is this is a much more dangerous ghost in multiplayer, because, well, we'll get into that in a second. First of all, it hunts at 60% sanity, so it's already an early hunter. It's an early hunter for everybody. That makes it more dangerous than your average ghost for sure. What it does with a candle, if it blows out a candle, it has a chance to hunt at any sanity percentage. It's super rare in single player, but it gets more common in multiplayer, especially after someone dies. When you have a teammate that dies, the candle ability is a lot more likely to happen. I think if like 2 people die, it's almost guaranteed to happen when it blows out a candle and starts hunting. And to test for an Onryo, you want multiple candles in the ghost room, because if you have more than 1 candle in there, you can actually cancel out this ability. And the candles kind of act like crucifixes. So it's a lot easier to test for it on multiplayer for sure. But the Onryo is going to be a dangerous ghost. It's going to be, for me, I'm going to put this A for now, but that can move. That can move. Once we start getting like maybe like half of these ghosts in here, we're gonna start moving some of the ones that already exist and they're around. Just talking about the different abilities and how they compare to each other. It's way too much to talk about in just one long burst. But once we have two ghosts sitting next to each other in the rankings, we can really be like, well, this ability versus that ability, and that's what I'm excited about with this list here. So the next is the Phantom. The Phantom has some unique abilities. I think right off the bat, it's a pretty weak ghost. It's a pretty weak ghost, the Phantom. So what does it do that's special? Well, when you take a picture of it, A, it's not going to appear in the actual photo, and B, it's going to go invisible for the rest of the ghost event. So if that happens, you know you have a Phantom. Also, when there's a hunt going on, most ghosts flicker in and out of visibility pretty quickly. The Phantom takes extra time in the invisible phase, and it's super obvious to spot once you have some experience in the game. And particularly with escaping hunts using smudges and stuff, and you know what a hunt looks like. So those are all weaknesses. Now, it does have a sanity drain effect that isn't that powerful. Yeah, so that's not that much of a, you know, counter to the weaknesses. Also, it can roam towards you from the ghost room and give you ghost events and stuff. That can happen. But overall, the Phantom's a weaker ghost, and it's very easy to identify and deal with. So I'm going to put Phantom. I don't think it's a D tier ghost. There's worse ghosts in the game when you put them next to each other, but it's certainly going to be next to Obake, in my opinion. And what these two, so these two right here on C tier, next to each other, you have the Obake with the fingerprints that are ultra identifiable, especially if you get a fingerprint ghost that's not leaving fingerprints every time. You know that's an Obake, or you see a fingerprint go missing ultra fast compared to your average fingerprint. Easy to identify and not very dangerous on the offense. Same thing with Phantom, easy to identify, not ultra dangerous on the offense. It's not a early hunter, it's not fast, it's not faster than average. So all right, next we're gonna do a Poltergeist. Now a Poltergeist is interesting. It has a sanity draining ability. So Poltergeists are known as the throwing ghost. They throw things, they throw a lot of things, and they can throw more than one thing at once. That's an ability you really have to pay attention to. You have to be watching and see it happen, or you have to be very critical with your ears to hear multiple objects hitting at once. But a Poltergeist can do that. Now, when you're close to a Poltergeist and it's throwing things, everything it throws, it drains 2% sanity, which can add up. But a Poltergeist isn't faster. It's not an early hunter. I think we're going to have to put Poltergeist on this danger list here. Probably, it's definitely, I think it's more dangerous. I think it's going next to Oni here on B. I think it's going next to Oni on B for sure. All right. Now, my favorite ghost in Phasmophobia, and this one is hands down for me. This one is hands down an S tier. I'm just going to put it there. No debate, and then I'm going to tell you why. Raiju is probably the most dangerous ghost in the game right now. It's got to be the most dangerous ghost in the game right now, because there's a couple things that make it super dangerous. Number one, early hunter. The Raiju is an early hunter. The Raiju is also one of the fastest ghosts in the game, and it doesn't have the weaknesses of some other ghosts like the Rev, which is the fastest ghost in the game. The Rev's weakness is when it doesn't have line of sight on you. It slows down to a crawl, and it's super easy to avoid. If you just turn the corner, it slows down rapidly. The Raiju, both of these things, the early hunting and the speed, are contingent upon electronic equipment in the ghost room, which you're gonna need to identify the Raiju anyway. So pretty much every situation in Phasmophobia, you're gonna have electronic equipment in the ghost room. So that makes Raiju an early hunter, and it makes it ultra fast. So it's a super dangerous ghost. So it has part demon in it, where early hunter, and it has part Revenant in it, where it's super fast, and that just puts it at S tier. It's a wild ghost. It's a wild ghost for sure. And it's my favorite. I think it's just cool how it works. I think it's cool how it can just clap a whole squad of 4 on Tanglewood in like 30 seconds. It's nuts. So S tier Raiju. That's our first S tier. And that's exciting. All right, now next, ironically, we have the Revenant. The Revenant used to be the most feared ghost in Phasmophobia. It used to be the ghost that everyone would be afraid of, because for those of you that are newer players but haven't played the original versions of the game, you didn't used to be able to sprint. And every ghost on default was just as fast as you, but not faster. Okay? So that meant you would always be able to loop. So high school matches were hilarious when you had a ghost chasing down the hallway the whole time, and you just kept doing that the whole hunt. As long as you could loop it, you would be fine. The Revenant was the one ghost that could run faster than you and continue that running until the point where it killed you. The Djinn was faster than you as well, but it would always slow down to your speed when it got within a couple meters, which was scary, but not that dangerous. Now the Rev, when it saw you, it was going to haul and it was going to kill you. But it has a huge weakness. And the huge weakness is, it's, well, as I just said, it's freaking huge. The huge weakness is going to be when it doesn't see you, it slows down to a crawl, which A, makes it super easy to identify, because if you just hide in a closet, and you hear these footsteps that are super, super slow, it's very easy to figure out it's a Rev. Also, if you hear those slow footsteps and then you have a smudge stick and it gains line of sight and it speeds up, okay, boom, it's a Rev. But so if you're getting chased by a Rev and you literally just break line of sight, it slows down immediately. It doesn't keep speeding up until the last place it saw you. It slows down. So Rev, it can't be an S tier. To me, it's not that dangerous anymore. It'll still kill people. It's still dangerous, but it's not S tier like God mode, Phasmophobia, oh my God ghost. It used to be. But the Rev is a little bit past its prime unless they decide to buff it in the future. I'm going to put it right here with Onryo for right now. And we'll see if this Onryo stays there later. We'll see if that stays there later on the complete list. Okay, next, we have the Shade. Complete S tier, run for your lives. Just kidding. So, the Shade is one of the weakest ghosts in the game. For sure. One of the weakest ghosts in the game, and what makes it so weak is A, it's a completely inactive ghost. And this ghost used to be really inactive, and then in one of the patches later on, they made it really, really inactive when they did a patch where they made the ghost abilities happen more often. And A, this ghost will never give you a ghost event above 75% sanity, so it's not going to do any early sanity draining on you. And B, it won't hunt until 35% sanity. And C, it will never hunt if you're in the ghost room. So it's easy to identify when you stand there like the crucifix in the ghost room. And by the time you're down to 35% sanity, you usually know it's a Shade. I've heard some people make arguments that the Shade can be creepy because you can't find it. And that may be more true than ever on a map like Asylum. I actually got killed by a Shade on the Asylum. I had a hallway Shade on the Asylum. And this took place after me and my team went into Asylum and took every movable object, every object you could pick up, and brought it out of the Asylum over like 2 hours and put it in the trailer. And then I went back in to find like one more piece, and I got clapped by a hallway Shade. But yes, Shade, it's got to be D tier. In my opinion, it's D tier. It's not that scary. You know what it is. It's easy to identify. It's not fast. Late hunter. Very inactive. So Shade's got to be D tier. And every time I get one, I'm mad. I start a prison match, and it's literally a Shade every time I get angry. I rage. All right, next. We have a Spirit. Spirits are ultra weak. That's pretty much it. They're super... how would I say this? They're super normal. A Spirit is just normal. It's a normal ghost. And that the one thing that's unique about it is just a way to identify it. That's the Spirit test with the smudge stick. It actually has a weakness where if you smudge the ghost room, it won't be able to hunt for 2 minutes instead of 90 seconds. Or 180 seconds instead of 90 seconds. Yes, which is 2 minutes. Is that 2 minutes? 120? No, that's 180 seconds. Wait, what? 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Math is hard. I just freaking... Yeah, math is hard. Yeah, the Shade takes 3 minutes. Every other ghost is a minute and a half, except for the Demon. The Demon that can actually hunt in 60 seconds. So you can also do kind of like a reverse Spirit test for the Demon, although it's a lot more risky because demons are aggressive, and we'll get to a Demon later. So Spirit for me. I can't put it. Whoa. It's got to be C tier, right? See, a Spirit's can be more dangerous than a Shade. It hunts earlier. You could make an argument. You could make an argument for Obake, Phantom, or Spirit being D tier, and we'll do that later. We'll get into that later. I don't want to compare these ghosts directly and switch anything yet. I want to go through the rough draft, and then we'll talk through it and kind of optimize it and put in the final one for sure. So now Banshee. Banshee is it's a cool ghost. The Banshee's a cool ghost, but it's also a weak ghost. So its weakness is tremendous, especially on multiplayer, where if you know that you're not the Banshee's target, the Banshee targets one player at a time. Okay, if you know that you're not the target, it literally won't kill you during that hunt unless you're on nightmare mode and it kills its target. So the Banshee can literally run through you. So it's super easy to identify. So if you see, if you suspect it's the Banshee and you see that happen, you can see it targeting one player during the hunt. You can just get out, get your money. It's not gonna hunt early. There was a time where the Banshee had the demon ability where it could hunt it up to 100% sanity near its target, which made it terrifying. It had some teeth then, but they took that away. And it just kind of made the Banshee like weak. For me, this ghost, while it can be scary because it can give you ghost events and interactions away from the ghost room near the target, it can follow you around and do scary stuff like that. It's not going to be any better than C tier for me. You could make an argument for D tier as well. Now, is it cool? Yes. Is the Phantom cool? Yes. Is the Obake cool? I love all these ghosts. I really do. But I'm just looking at pure danger level here. And the Banshee's not that dangerous. And it's really not that dangerous at all if you aren't the target. So, interesting. And if you're interested in learning more about all these ghosts that we're talking about here in terms of hidden abilities, stuff like that, how to identify them with no evidence, I have guide videos breaking down all these ghosts for sure on the YouTube channel. This is more of I'm mentioning some of that stuff, but we're not going into detail here. Now, the next one is the Mimic. This is going to be one of the hardest ghosts to rank here because the Mimic can be anything. It can be an S tier ghost. The Mimic can mimic a Raiju. Okay, the Mimic can also mimic a Shade. So where do we put it? Now, basic logic is going to tell me there's only a few elite ghosts in the game that are really, really dangerous, more so than the others. So it's more likely to be a weaker ghost than a stronger one, right? But Mimics can be confusing. They're also easy to identify as long as you're paying attention. As long as you know that the potential for Mimic is there and you check for orbs, because a Mimic's always going to give you orbs on every difficulty, even Nightmare. So in Nightmare mode where you get 2 evidences, you'll get a 3rd and you know it's a Mimic. On a Professional and lower, you'll get 4 evidences instead of the 3 and you'll know it's a Mimic. So the question is, where do we put it? So imagine this. I'm gonna make a sales pitch for the Mimic. So I'm initially thinking B as like average because we don't know what it's going to be. But imagine like one hunt. It's a really weak ghost. Imagine like one hunt. It's super slow. It's a Diogen. And you're like, it's a Diogen, everyone. And imagine the next hunt. It has switched into a Raiju and just claps your cheeks. Imagine. That right there, the ability to switch, puts it higher, I think. That puts it higher than average, right? So I'm going to go and I'm going to put Mimic. It's definitely not an S tier ghost. I'm going to put it on A. That may be controversial. And feel free to put any disagreements in the comments of this video for sure. But that is, I think I'm going to have to put it on A. I think it's above average, but it's not God tier. So I'm looking at B as average, D as trash, and S is like God tier. So I think that's going to be a good ranking. All right, next we have the Twins. The Twins are interesting. They're a complex ghost, and they confuse a lot of people. We actually just had a Twins match on the high school. And how the Twins work, quick breakdown here, is you have Twin A, which is chilling in the ghost room, the room that you find that's cool with a thermometer, all right? And it's doing stuff in there. It can give you all 3 evidences. Then you have Twin B, which is roaming around. It's the decoy twin. So it's roaming around in different areas, and it's messing with stuff. It can touch doors, give you ghost events. It can even start hunts on its own away from the ghost room, but it's not going to cool the room down. It's not going to give you any evidence aside from the EMF. It can give you EMF 5, but the way the Twins work during hunts is Twin A is going to be 10% lower than average and Twin B is going to be 10% faster. You're more likely to get Twin A. So that's cool, but they're 50% hunt sanity, so they're average hunt sanity. I think Twins are going to have to be... I'm going to have to put them on... They got to be B. While they're cooler than B, the concept of Twins, in my opinion, is S tier. The way that they tuned the Twins to work in the game is B tier. That doesn't mean that the tuning of itself is like bad physical, implementation. It just means that they made them that strength, if that makes sense. So I think they're a great idea. They're cool, but the they have potential to be overrated because of that. Now, next is a Wraith. A Wraith, while it's very cool, the Wraith is a teleporting ghost. It can teleport around. It can go from the ghost room to you, giving you a ghost event or throwing things in a second, confusing you, perhaps. It's also super easy to figure out because the Wraith is the only ghost that will not give you footsteps. So you lay down some salt, you see the ghost step in it, and then you hear the ghost walking, you check with the UV light, there's no footprint. Ah, it must be a Wraith, and everybody knows it. This is the most common, like, secret that's known in Phasmophobia, is that the Wraith will not give you footsteps. Everybody knows, like if they don't know, their friends will tell them soon, for sure, when they're playing. So everyone knows how to test for a Wraith, and if you get a ghost that doesn't give you footprints, everybody just knows you can get your money and get out. It's not overly fast, and it's not an early hunter, so it's average speed, average hunt. So for me, I think it's better than a Shade, for sure, but it's got to be C. Wraith has got to be C, just in terms of sheer danger. It's not going to be as dangerous as the Twins, who have a little bit of a speed burst. Poltergeist, which can drain your sanity a little bit faster. Oni, with all them ghost events. It's not on their level, in my opinion. All right, next, we have the meme of Phasmophobia. The yokai gets hated on and made fun of. I feel bad that the whole community has bullied the yokai, for sure, because it's known as the dumb ghost, unfortunately. But yokai, I love you. I just wanted to let you know, yokai, I love you. And it's actually a very strong ghost. It's a very strong ghost. The reason it's a very strong ghost is it has the ability to hunt at 80% sanity. That's earlier than a demon without the demon using a special ability. That's actually the earliest hunting ghost in the game without using, if you factor out the ability for the Onryo, as well as the demon, where they can hunt up to 100. The yokai 80%. Now the catch for the yokai is going to be that you have to be talking within a couple meters of it for it to hunt at 80%. At 80%. But for sure, you can get a real early hunt from a yokai and get clapped. It's very, very possible. Keep that in mind. Now, the other weakness it has is it's not very observant during hunts. It can't hear very well, and it can't detect electronics very well. So if you have your flashlight on by accident, the yokai literally might not find you on a smaller map. It's got to be within a couple meters of you to sense that your electronic device has been left on. And that's actually a good way to test for it if you are feeling gutsy, is you just close the door, keep your flashlight on, and if your flashlight starts to flicker but the ghost doesn't come in and try to clap you, that's a sign of a yokai right there. That's a good yokai test. So overall, because of the early hunting, it's dangerous. It's dangerous, but it's not S tier. This is going to be A tier for me. I'm gonna, if we're putting Onryo in A tier, yokai's got to be there with it, for sure. Now, is it going to chain hunt like a demon will? Not so much, unless you're near it. So that early hunting comes with a caveat. But it's not like the Onryo, where it still early hunts regardless of the candle. The Onryo is a 60% hunter. So, but it all evens out here, I think. I think it's an A tier ghost, which might be controversial because yokai gets hated on a lot, and it's actually a meme. A lot of times on this channel, when we're not sure on Nightmare Mode exactly what the ghost is, people just guess yokai because, you know, the random yokai is funny. It's like the RKO out of nowhere, but it's just like the yokai. All right, next we have the Yuri. The Yuri is pretty much a bland ghost. It has a hidden ability to drain 15% sanity and slam a door. So you'll identify it when you see a door go from all the way open to all the way closed. It slams really hard, makes a very distinctive noise. And at that point, you're drained 15% sanity. But aside from that, it's pretty normal. It's not faster than normal. It's normal 50% hunt. So where are we going to rank this? I think the Yuri is pretty weak. And you know if you get that door slam that you have the Yuri. Is it... B or C? I'm debating between B and C. I'm going to go and say... C tier. This is subject to change. I think it's C. I think the Yuri's C. I don't like Yuris. Oh my god. I think it's not as bad as a Shade, but it's not clearly better than any of these ghosts, for sure. For sure. If you want sanity drain ability, I mean, the Phantom can do it as well, but it's easy to identify. The Yuri is... Think of this, the Yuri is just like a spirit, except they have different ways to identify, and the Yuri will take 15% sanity when it does it, but you'll know it's a Yuri if you're paying attention. Alright, next we have a demon. A demon is the most aggressive ghost in Phasmophobia. It hunts early. It also has a hidden ability to hunt up to 100% sanity, and when it does it, it's really creepy because it'll start walking from the ghost room towards you, and as long as you're within like a 20-second walk or something like that, it's gonna find you and hunt right on you. That happened to me in a high school match recently, where the demon, not in the ghost room, started to hunt on me real early match and killed me. It was insane. But aside from that, demons, once they start hunting, they hunt rapidly. They have the lowest hunt cooldown in the game. So once you start getting hunted by a demon, it's really tough to finish the match. Really, really tough, especially if you don't have all the evidence and all the objectives. Like, demons are aggressive and dangerous, and for that reason, they have to be God tier. They have to be S, in my opinion. They have to be right there with Raiju. What they lack in Raiju speed, they have in just relentlessness. So when a demon hunt ends, it's about 30 seconds till it hunts again. That's insane. And that's like if you're on like the prison and you have a cell block demon and you're trying to get equipment through the front door to the cell block, like you might never make it to the cell block. It's that crazy. All right, next we have Agorio. Agorio is pretty weak in my opinion. They have a cool ability with the dots where you can only see the dots through a video camera. That can make them a little bit harder to find at first, but it can also, you know, once you see dots through only the camera and you do a Agorio test, you know you have Agorio. And aside from that, there's nothing special about them. They're very inactive when you're in the ghost room. They're almost shade-like. I'm going to have to put the Agorio in the C tier for now, and we're going to have to see if anything else goes into D, or if D is just the shade tier. We're going to have that debate at the end here. So we'll do that. We'll put Agorio in C for now, because it's definitely not stronger than any of these ghosts objectively, no. All right, next we have Hantu. Talk about the comeback player of the year. The Hantu, when it first dropped, was ultra weak because while it was advertised as being fast in the freezing, it actually wasn't that fast. It was super slow when it wasn't freezing and cold, but they buffed it. They buffed it, so the Hantu is actually a very dangerous ghost in the cold. It's super fast. It's super fast. When it's in the freezing room, it'll breathe freezing breath, so if you have the guts, you can stick around and get an up-close view of it and see if it's breathing that breath, and that's only a Hantu does that. It's fast, but the way you counter a Hantu is you make sure the breaker's on, which the Hantu does like to turn off the breaker a lot. You make sure the breaker's on and the house warms up, and if you're in a warm part of the house, it slows down. The Hantu slows down and it will not accelerate throughout the hunt, so it's super easy to loop. Super easy. But a Hantu, when you're in the ghost room and it catches you in there, it's so fast, it's Revenant-like, it's Raiju-like, it will clap you. So those two things are going to offset. Is this a S ghost? No. Is it an A ghost? Is it a B ghost? It's probably a B ghost just because the weakness can be so strong when you actually know how to counter it and counter it. I think I'm going to put Hantu at B. But so the thing about the Hantu is it's either like an A ghost or like a C or even D ghost, depending on how you play it. So literally 3 rooms over from the ghost room, it could be acting like a D ghost with how it hunts and how slow it is. But if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, it could be A or show moments of S. So I'm gonna put it right in the middle here. We're gonna put it on B, I think. Interesting, right? We're gonna put it right there on B. Now the next ghost we're gonna talk about is a Djinn. Now Djinns are often, in my opinion, underrated. They're kind of an afterthought when talking about elite ghosts and Phasmophobia. I think part of that's because it's been around for so long, and it was always kind of like the little brother to the Revenant that like was all bark no bite, because back in the day when you had to loop, the Djinn could never fully catch up to you. It would slow down when it got close to you, but the Rev would kill you. But they were both fast ghosts, so when you had a fast ghost back then, you would be like, oh, it's either a Djinn or a Rev, and you would check the possibilities. But there's some other things we have to talk about the Djinn. Now it's been buffed. There's a couple things about it that are interesting. Now when it slows down and it gets close to you, it will accelerate over time. So you can't just loop it like a Hantu endlessly. So it'll be super fast when it sees you. Then when it gets close, it slows down a little bit, but it will re-accelerate over time. And it will ultimately kill you if you're on a long stretch or trying to loop, which is cool. But the other thing about the Djinn that nobody talks about is, what if I told you? What if I told you it says that the Djinn hunts at 50% sanity, but if the breaker's on, we'll get to the breaker in a minute, it's an early hunter. Not literally, but the djinn, when you're close to it, it has a hidden ability that is actually mostly undetectable, where it will just drain 25% of your sanity like that. So it's like the Yuri's ability, but it's much stronger, and it's not obviously detectable. The way you would detect this happening is you would get an EMF2 on the EMF and see that nothing around you has happened, because that's normally a sign of a hidden ability. And that means the djinn just took 25% of your sanity, and if you were at 75% early match and the breaker's on, which means the djinn has access to its abilities, it took 25% of your sanity, it's hunting you at 50, and it's coming at you fast. The djinn is dangerous. It's dangerous. Is it S tier? If that was just the sales pitch for the djinn, under all circumstances, it could do that 25% ability and it was fast, I would put it in S tier, no problem. But it's really easy to nerf the djinn if you turn the breaker off, because it needs the power on for those things to happen. So you turn the breaker off, it slows down drastically, which is a great way to test for it. And also, it can't do that hidden ability. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in A, but the djinn is a dangerous ghost, and it will kill you. It will kill you, for sure. And it will eat sanity faster than you think. A lot of times you'll have a djinn hunt early and you're like, wow, it came at me fast. You might confuse it with something like a Raiju. You know, it's wild. It's wild. I think that I'm gonna put it there in A. Now the next thing we're gonna talk about is the mare. Where do we put the mare? The mare annoys me. I love the mare. It's a very cool ghost, but every time I have a mare in a match, like I feel like it's trying to troll me and annoy me. Now here's the thing about the mare. The mare thrives off the dark. It thrives off the... Also, a quick note on djinn. The djinn will never turn the breaker off, at least intentionally. But, like I said, we're missing some details here. If you want all the details, go to one of my full ghost guides here on YouTube. Because we're going to miss some stuff, because this is all off the top of my head. No preparation at all. Now, the mare. The mare is kind of like the opposite of the djinn. The mare loves to turn the breaker off, and it loves the dark. So if the mare's in a dark room, it's going to hunt you at 60% sanity. It's going to be an early hunter on par with the Agorio. If you have the light on in the room, it's going to be more like a shade. It's going to hunt at 40% sanity. And it's going to be a lot less active. But the mare is, when you turn the light on in the ghost room, it likes to move to darker rooms that are around. Also, what the mare does is does these ghost events where it breaks lights very frequently. The last thing you need to know about the mare is it has this light switch ability, which has gone through multiple phases, where if you turn a light switch on, there's a small chance the mare could flip it off immediately. Just right there. So if you flip a light switch on and it turns literally off instantly, that's the mare's hidden ability. Now, that used to be so common that you could just flip the switches, spam them, and it would happen like pretty frequently, and it was easy to cheese the mare. It's a lot rarer now, but that's still something to consider. Where does the mare rank on this list? Well, it depends on if it's in the light or in the dark. I'm going to have to say on the scale of annoyance, because of how much they move around and like to troll me and blow out all the lights on the map so I can't see, I'm going to put the level of annoyance at an S, but actual danger probably a B. I'm going to put you right here with B, because it can hunt early, it can surprise you, and it can take away a valuable resource known as the light switch. So if you can't turn on the lights, your sanity drains faster. So I'm going to put it there right on B. Now the next one is the Myelin. The Myelin is a very cool ghost known for being quiet. It's also known for increased parabolic activity. The quiet thing can be scary because you might not hear footsteps from the Myelin, but you'll hear your teammates choking to death. And that can be terrifying because like you can't hear the ghost, but you know it's a Myelin at that point most of the time. A lot of times when people have a Myelin, they call it out before they're sure because of the audio during the hunt. They're quieter. And the footsteps are inaudible outside of 10 meters. You can't hear the footsteps outside of 10 meters, so you can test the flicker of the flashlight. The ghosts interfere with your electronics within 10 meters. So if you hear footsteps before your flashlight starts to flicker, you know it's not a Myelin. If you don't until your flashlight starts to flicker, you know it is a Myelin. So you can test for it that way. Aside from that, it's not an early hunter. It's not fast. So a Myelin... Is this going to be C tier? How valuable is the quiet? I'm gonna have to put it on C tier. Are we gonna have to expand this list? Yeah, we're gonna put it on C tier. There we go. So we got a lot of C tier ghosts here, which doesn't mean they're bad. It's just they're not overly special. Maybe we'll have to negotiate more with that later on with the C and B, because B is supposed to be average. But I feel like these ghosts are kind of weak. Okay, next. Now, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. We have the 3 new ghosts, and how do we rank these? How do we rank the 3 new ghosts in Phasmophobia? So, the Diogen. The Diogen is one of my favorite ghosts in the entire game right now. The Diogen is awesome, but I think it's incredibly weak. The reason it's incredibly weak, if you don't know about the Diogen, basically, you can't hide from it. Okay, it will always find you. So if you try to hide in the closet, it's going to sprint to the closet at like Revenant speed, basically. And once it gets within 4 meters, it's going to slow down to a crawl and walk at you like a mime, like a slow motion mime, like it's super slow. And it's very easy to avoid and loop, as long as you can plan for it. It's a late hunter, almost on par with the Shade. It's a late hunter like a mare in the light, 40%. And it also has a hidden spirit box ability, which isn't really functional aside from, that's just a pure weakness. The hidden spirit box ability isn't a strength, it's a weakness, because if you get the breathing in the spirit box, you know it's a Diogen, and it hasn't hurt you at all. So the Diogen is weak. Now, this is a ghost that it could be super strong if it was an early hunter. If they made this like a 70% hunter, this thing would be killing people left and right because you wouldn't know it was a Diogen. Next thing you know, the hunt starts, you go to hide, and you're getting clapped. So what would make the Diogen really dangerous is if you weren't prepared for it. But because it's such a late hunter, most people are going to know before to find a place to loop. And then it's actual in-action hunting. As long as you suspect it could be a Diogen and you're in a looping place, as soon as you see it, you know it's a Diogen. As soon as it slows down within 4 meters. So I'm going to have to put it, I don't think it's as bad as the Shade, because it has the positive of making sure you can't hide. The Shade can't do that. It also hunts a little bit earlier than the Shade, so it's not as weak as the Shade. Also, I've noticed the Diogen can be very active with ghost vents. I've had a lot of ghost vents with the Diogen, and those will drain sanity if you're too close to them. So we're going to put it at C. You could make an argument for, I don't think it's B. I see more people mocking the Diogen than actually dying. I think it's got to be better than the Shade. The Diogen has to be better than the Shade, right? It has to be. It has to be. It's got something on it. If someone really wanted to say it was D, then I'd like to hear the argument. I wouldn't be ultra opposed. You know, I'd hear it out. That's my thoughts on Diogen. Now, keep in mind with these new ghosts, we've already had a change to the Diogen since they were put in the game. We've already had an ultra buff to the Thaye. So these ghosts can change moving forward depending on when you're watching this video. So the moroi. Where do we put the moroi? How strong is it? How dangerous is the moroi? Because this ghost gets faster the less sanity you have, which is a super cool thing. Also, it can curse you. It can curse you through the spirit box and the parabolic mic. It can curse you through just about anything you hear in the paramic, except for like salt footsteps. If you hear salt footsteps, that's not going to give you the curse. But if you hear the ghost whisper in the parabolic, the moroi curses you. And the curse means that your sanity starts to drain at an accelerated rate. And as you start to drain fast, you get within hunting range. And when you start to get hunted, I mean, losing sanity is huge. And the lower your sanity gets, especially once you start to get below like 30% sanity, the ghost starts to speed up. So it's much stronger late game. Or just when your sanity starts to accelerate with how fast it's being lost. So I think the moroi is stronger than C. I think it's definitely stronger than C. I don't think it's going to be A tier as it currently stands. I think it's going to be B tier. I'm going to put it there right in the middle. I think that's a safe way to... I need more matches with it. It's a cool ghost. It's an interesting ghost. But it's definitely more dangerous than anything in the C tier, for sure. It's definitely more likely to kill you than any of this. Let's go... Yeah, let's go B. Let's go B. I like that. I like that. Just like any ghost, if you know what you're dealing with, it's a lot easier to counter. You just get in and out. Now, this is my new favorite ghost in the game, the Thaye. The Thaye was originally super weak. How it works is how it did work when it was first brought into the game, like 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. The Thaye is super strong and active. It's like a Raiju Oni. when you first enter the house, but as soon as you entered the house, it would start aging rapidly and getting slower and less active and becoming a more late hunter. It basically turned into a shade after just a few minutes. But they recently buffed it. So what the buff did was it made it an early hunter. Boom, dangerous, 70% when it's fresh. Okay, and now to age the ghost, you actually have to physically be in the ghost room or be around it when it's wandering. And this really, what that did is it made it a lot harder to weaken the thaye. And when you catch a thaye early, this thing hauls. It's basically Raiju speed through the entire house, and it's an early hunter, 70% sanity. So if you're struggling to find the ghost room and you haven't weakened it yet, this thing can give you ultra trouble. Once you weaken it, when you give it its max weakness, when you age it as much as possible, it hunts at like 15% sanity and is like incredibly slower than a Hantu in the Warman, very easy to loop. So it does get weak over time, but early match, this thing is dangerous. Am I gonna put it on S tier? I haven't had enough matches with it to really put it in the current God mode. I'm gonna put it in A right now because I've noticed players that I've talked to are super afraid of this ghost and die to this ghost a lot more so than the moroi or the Diogen since the buff. So I'm gonna put it A. But just let me tell you, basically, for periods of time throughout the match, if you get an early hunt from a thaye, it is S tier for that hunt. It is incredibly dangerous, for sure. It is incredibly dangerous. Also, if you haven't found the ghost room yet, once you go in there, you're going to have a lot of ghost events and interactions and stuff. Totally an A tier ghost that over time, when you try to weaken it, will turn into... an S tier ghost, yeah, that'll turn into a D tier ghost over time. Interesting. So that's where I'm going to put the thaye. I think that's a pretty good ranking for it now, but it definitely has highlights of S tier when you're getting that early hunt and it is hauling around the house and it never slows down. Its roaming speed is its max speed. It is crazy. So let's just go over these. S tier, Raiju and Demon. I think I'm okay with those two being the Phasmophobia god ghosts, the elite tier. I don't think anything else can be objectively included in there right now. Everything else that I look at has, weaknesses that would pull it out of that tier for me, for sure. A tier, Onryo, Rev, Mimic, Yokai, Jin, Thaye. The only ones I am pretty unsure of here are going to be Onryo and Mimic. Because the Onryo is not overly fast or anything. I think the Agorio belongs there. But when I was first thinking about it, I wasn't sure. I think it belongs there because of the candle ability. And once it starts killing teammates, it snowballs for sure. Mimic, like we were talking about, could be anything. Thaye, Jin, Yokai, Rev are all good there. B tier. This is the average tier. Oni, Hantu Twins, Hantu, Mare, moroi. I'm okay with all that. Onis, like we talked about, they're very active. They can drain your sanity quick with ghost events. Poltergeist can drain your sanity by throwing things. We could make an argument for Poltergeist being C tier, because here's the thing: if you get a Poltergeist that is in a room that doesn't have a lot of things throwable, and it starts to act like a shade, it doesn't really touch things, and then you're not getting your sanity drained. I think I'm gonna actually move the Polty down. I think I'm gonna move the Polty to C tier. I think I'm going to do that because I've had some shade-like Poltergeist for sure. And that ability of draining sanity when it's throwing things isn't really that strong. If you see it throw 5 things, that's the equivalent of 1 ghost event. Okay, that's 10% sanity drain. So, I'm going to put it C. But I'm willing to debate on this one. And obviously everyone has their own thoughts. So if you disagree with that move, put it in the comments. I'll hear you out. That'd be pretty cool. Hantu Twins. Hantu's ultra fast and ultra dangerous when it's right, when it's in the cold, especially with the breakers off and it's hauling around the whole house. Twins, confusing and sometimes dangerous, yes. Mare, early hunter, likes to blow out the lights, drain sanity quicker that way. Moroi, yes. Once it curses you, it gets a little bit faster, the sanity gets lower, yes. B tier. Definitely not A tier danger here, but definitely above C tier danger. That's right. I think all these are pretty much right. Now, C tier, we have ghosts that are special. They're more weak than they are strong. So Obake easily identifiable. Phantom, easily identifiable. Spirit, we have the Spirit test, nothing special about it. Banshee, easy to identify. Not fast, not an early hunter. Wraith, very easy to identify. Yuri does have that sanity draining ability, but it's weak and it's obvious when it happens. Agorio, it's basically just got a weakness, no strength really, with the dots. I mean, once you see the dots on camera but not in person, you know it's Agorio. The Myelin, it's quiet, which is kind of a strength, but also makes it easily identifiable. All these things make these ghosts more dangerous than a Shade, but not quite as dangerous as B tier in my opinion. Poltergeist, we could put a B. Like, we could. I'm just, the way I'm feeling right now, C. And we'll revisit this list in the future as they buff or nerf ghosts, or as they add more new ghosts. Diogen, you can make an argument for D. Now that I'm thinking about it more, you can make an argument for D. People like to troll the Diogen more than they die from it. But it's got things on the Shade that make it better, mainly the ability to not hide from it. So at least it has that going, where a new player, fresh out of, you know, level 1 player, let's say like a level 15 player that's just learning how to hide. They know that Ghost Hunt starts and they need to go hide. They're a lot more likely to get clapped by a Diogen than a Shade. So I think the Diogen has to be separate from the Shade. Is it dangerous? No. No, that's why it's C tier and it's not BAS. So it's just more, there's more to it than the Shade in terms of danger, I think, for sure. Okay, that's gonna wrap up this list. Please comment below and let me know how you would have done different. This list should be available on tiermaker.com. You could probably do it yourself. I think you can log on here and do it yourself. So yeah, please let me know your thoughts, or where you would have ranked something different, or just what your favorite ghost is, because keep in mind, I love all these ghosts, even the Shade. I love the Shade. I love that it's different from all the other ghosts. This is just strictly danger speaking. I'm not doing this to crap on any ghost in Phasmophobia. I think they're all amazing and unique and wonderful. So yeah, those are my thoughts. We're gonna have a map tier list soon, for sure. We might even do it before the new update, where they drop Sunny Meadows. So we might do it with the current asylum still in it, and then revisit it after that to rank the new asylum map. And also, I'm thinking about doing other things. I have some ideas. I might do a scariest ghost room tier list and take some of the worst ghost rooms that we all know of from all the Phasmophobia maps and put them in here and tier rank them for sure. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you stop by the Twitch. It's Bushwhack18. Make sure you hop in the Discord and meet our wonderful family. And I'll see y'all next time. And as always, happy ghost hunting, baby. Let's go.